Kaylin. Hi, welcome back to the Female Startup Club podcast.
Hi, I'm so happy to be back and talking years later. It's great to be here again.
It's so great to be here again. For anyone listening, we had our first interview ever, which was back in early 2020. It was episode number 10 for me. So it was like seriously early days, but you had actually just launched your business the November before. So it's kind of wild because in those years, I've watched from afar the success that you've had and the growth that you've had and all these exciting things happening. And then on our side, we're at the 500-ish mark. It's been a journey for both of us. And I'm so excited to be back doing part 2. I'm excited to hear what's been going on.
I love it. It's been so fun to watch you as well and just kind of, cheerleading from afar. And I'm excited to dive back in.
Thank you so much for saying that. I want to explore there's 2 ways that we could go about this. But I think the best thing to do is anyone who's listening should go back to the very first episode and kind of hear that early story and the why you started and the how you started. And today we could pick up from where we kind of left off in that early 2020 mark, talk about what's happened since then, maybe cover some highs and some lows, and then get into a deeper dive discussion around collabs and partnerships and what's been going on.
Cool. That sounds great.
Let's rewind to early 2020. Pandemics hit. You're like in the early days. What was going on?
It was wild. Yeah, wild time. So, I had been thinking about this idea for years at that point. And so finally, left my job and started really working on Jiggy and launched November of 2019. And some of the trends I was already seeing happen that gave me the conviction to even start around, unplugging from technology and kind of wanting to get away from screens, self-care, mindfulness, and this appetite for like analog activity. So those were already happening. But then, add in everybody in the world being stuck at home for a puzzle company, it honestly just kind of threw me into this tailspin in some great ways and in some really challenging ways. And it's just been like a sprint, really. We're catching our breath now, but those next probably 2 years were really just kind of a daze. But, back to the beginning of 2020. So we launched November 2019 and went right into holiday season. So I knew there would be, some seasonality. A lot of people have great fond memories or traditions around puzzling, together with their families during the holidays. So that was kind of our first marketing around the holiday season for 2019. And then we had only done one production run to that point. We had our vendors, we had our supply chain, but we really only kind of troubleshot it once.
How many units did you have?
We had the initial order was 10,000 units. But I split it up. So I, basically part of the negotiation with the factory was that was their minimum. They would not accept my business for less than that. But I was like, all right, so what if I pay for the raw materials of that amount, but I don't, I'm just starting out. We're going cold start. I don't think I need that many in our warehouse. And actually at that point in my living room was where I was shipping from. I took delivery on the first, let's say couple thousand. I still had an allocation from that initial, run quantity. So as soon as we saw the writing on the wall and going into the new year anyway, we did have some marketing planned around dry January and an activity to do when you're sober over the weekend and, Valentine's Day, date night, have a date night in. And so we were already starting to sell through that. So I ordered the next batch. And then, that mid-March weekend when, I was in New York. So it was fairly early that it was just full shutdown, everyone at home. And we saw immediate overnight people looking for activities, media outlets writing about what to do and puzzles kind of coming to the forefront. So immediately ordered all the rest in and had already gotten out of my living room and had a warehouse that could fulfill much more quickly. But we immediately went into restocking because did end up selling out of that first full run. I kind of saw, even with placing as quickly as I could, we were going to be sold out for about 2 months. And so And I'm like, I'm a 6-month-old company. Yeah. Like I'm so early. I'm a 6-month-old brand. And it's like the demand is now. Like I'm missing the moment, I'm missing this window of opportunity. And so we did a couple things then, which I think people can take some inspiration from. So the first, of course, everyone, was moving to gift cards and like how else you can support these small businesses, even if they are sold out. So we did a fun spin on our gift cards where we made them puzzles. So it was a mini 24-piece like postcard size puzzle. And so on the back of it was where we wrote the redemption code. So you'd get it in the mail, just in an envelope, and then you'd have to put it together, to redeem it once we were back in stock. So that was kind of just an added layer of fun little surprise and delight for people. But then really what I was just trying to troubleshoot. Can we source them elsewhere? Can we change the packaging to at least have something available for sale? And so what I was able to get, just off the shelf were blank white puzzles. And so, it's a puzzle, but there's nothing printed on it. So it's kind of this, necessity is the mother of invention, like aha moment, where I was like, well, my whole thing is I have this community of artists. And so I got these blank white puzzles and I live in New York and don't have a car. So I rented a zip car, fully masked and gloves and everything. And I drove around to our New York based artists and dropped off these blank white puzzles, and they hand drew and hand painted on them. And, essentially created these one of a kind original pieces of artwork on a puzzle. We hosted an auction for them and raised money, and it was split between the artist and COVID fundraising efforts for New York City. And so it was a really special campaign that ended up, getting media coverage and actually being not just a quick temporary fix, but actually a really special moment for the brand. So that was kind of our first 6 months of COVID, was trying to restock quickly, scrambling, doing our original hand painted campaign and trying to just kind of meet the moment, wait lists, gift cards, and stay as relevant as we could while being sold out.
It's interesting because I feel like for you were really leaning into, at that stage, the bootstrapped founder. Everything was kind of the word of mouth, like you every day hitting the internet pavement, trying to get your story out there. But actually what's come out of that is you really went for that grassroots approach, and that inherently built that word of mouth marketing moment for you, which it seems like such an obvious thing, but I feel like it's actually often forgotten. People shouldn't be turning straight to launching paid media ads or, blowing thousands of dollars to get things happening. You should be organically trying to find these ways to reach your target audience through innovative campaigns and through kind of just getting your story out there, which is exactly what you did.
Absolutely. I think for me, just especially from my experience at the startup before, the Skim that I was at before Jiggy, we took a very kind of grassroots and community driven approach as well. And so I think in some ways it's just felt so organic and just much more authentic of a way to build a brand to me. But also, strategically, I think it's just so much, it's a longer play, but I think it's what actually makes a business like defensible, especially if you have a product that can be knocked off and competitors will pop up. I think ultimately it's what makes you stand out, what gives you, longer legs and gives longevity to the idea, and what makes it a more defensible business. So both kind of just from my core, what I had experienced already and what I was comfortable with and felt more authentic, but then also certainly I think it's in the best interest of the brand too. And it is so easy. I think there was certainly, a period of time where like everything was a, D2C Facebook ad machine, just, come up with some product, even drop ship a product from don't even make it yourself, pump money into ads. And like, there you go. You have your e-commerce business. And I think that model, just kind of ran its course and it is a bit tired. I think consumers do want to know what's behind it. If you're really just selling a product, buying ads and paying for acquisition, a moment when you're sold out or there, something goes wrong, like there's not that much back to fall back on when you approach it from from a why, what is the why behind the brand, then it was, coming up with hand painted one. Like it was because we had this community of artists and this mission around it. That's what allowed, being able to meet the moment in an authentic way versus I think just, having a product that you push out.
The quick win.
Exactly.
I feel like from that moment for the blank kind of puzzle with New York artists moment, that must have been a guiding moment as well, where you were like, okay, this actually works. This is something that we can build into our strategy ongoing. What was your approach from then on with collaborations and partnerships, whether it was strategic or whether it was the female artists that you were working with? What was your kind of guiding strategy moving forward?
Yeah, it definitely kind of proved this hypothesis that people would see puzzles as art. And I think that was, the premise in the beginning was, okay, puzzles, there's this product. I think it can be a more fun experience, be differentiated if it's not just cheesy stock photography, but it's actually beautiful pieces of art. So let's start there. And then, really having, we auctioned these and they went for $400 to like $4,500 was the highest, so someone paying over $4,000 for, yes, an original, a hand-done original on a puzzle. And really that was kind of a proof of concept, if you will, that this idea of puzzles being the vehicle, but for a piece of art had traction and that there was interest there. From there, definitely saw this concept of collaborations and more kind of limited runs as having a lot of potential. So working with larger artists, even artist partner who she has a couple million Instagram followers and just shares her art there and does drops of her prints and stuff. And so we do a rotating collection with her that's swapped out on a seasonal basis. And then working with brands too, especially brands with, really strong visual identities and really, fun in-house creative and assets. And that's been a great part of growing and just, getting in front of like-minded audiences through those partnerships has been a great growth channel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's genius on all levels. Like you're reaching their audience, you're coming with new exciting things for your audience. It's a really PR-worthy moment. It's kind of like the dream business model in so many ways.
Totally. I think, fresh product, which you're always trying to launch new SKUs and just keep it interesting and dynamic for your existing customers. And then getting in front of new customers in a way, that feels like a fun, original idea, not too heavy-handed or too kind of forced down their throat. So we've done, really fun, like a non-alcoholic drink. And so really fun scenes of, a puzzle party with the beverage and even Winky Lux. My friend Natalie runs a cosmetics brand, Winky Lux, which, was blown up and is in Target and Sephora and all over. And they have really strong prints, like packaging prints. They're known kind of iconic prints on all of their packaging. And so doing something that recognizable for their customers on a puzzle was really fun. Even really making it more of almost a marketing vehicle for the partner as well. So for example, we worked with the music artist, Casey Musgraves, who was releasing her new album. And so along with, the vinyl and stuff for the album, we put the cover art onto a puzzle and she sold that alongside the album release. So it's not only a way to just, add another product, monetize the audience more, but to have it be much more interactive. And, we had a QR code leading to the album and a message from her on the puzzle. So, to be listening to her music while piecing this puzzle together and then get a fun like multimedia experience was something totally new to her fan base. Using puzzles as an engagement tool, and the fact that maybe they could have bought a poster and put it up on the wall, but people spend 8 10 hours doing a puzzle, like the time of engagement on really just like an advertising, people pay tens of thousands, millions of dollars for 30 seconds of a customer's attention, 10 seconds maybe. And so the fact that, partners can put their branded imagery on a puzzle and people would spend 10 hours with it, was a real kind of value add for them as well. So definitely a win-win that we, plan to continue and has become really core to the business.
And for something like that, when it's kind of like a branded partnership that could have also been a white label moment, but you've leaned more into the collaboration side of it, how does that work in terms of the model for numbers? Like, is it like a commission or they pay up front, or what's the back end of that?
Typically we do like a royalty split, because we are, a lot of much bigger players it's essentially licensing. They would, Disney or something would be looking at licensing out their characters and everything. But since we've really tried to approach it as people who are aligned with our audience, that we can create a real, win-win moment for, and the fact that we're still small, self-funded, bootstrapping business, we've just by necessity done most of our deals on the back end of sales. So it's essentially a rev share that we split on the back end, depending on the party. If it's an artist and a partner and Jiggy, then we'll do like a 3-way split. So figuring that out. And there are some partners who I totally understand bring a lot of value themselves and are looking for like a minimum guarantee. So you can factor that in if there's a little more security with a minimum guarantee on their end. So I think it's getting creative and ultimately, of course, finding what works for you. But a rev share has definitely worked for us and been, most partners have been open to that.
And when it comes to the artists and even the brand partners too, are you going out and actively pitching them, or are they coming to you? Or what's the process of finding the artist and then kind of that approach moment and getting them on board?
Definitely both. In the beginning, it was certainly much more outbound on my side, artist side, going to art fairs and shows and galleries and, diving into these like Illustrator communities online. And so fun. And still is probably the most fun part of my day to day. Yeah, it started with me curating and going out to them and sharing this idea and what we were working on. Since we've launched and been live, and certainly, big press moments, anything that really kind of puts the brand on the map, we start getting a lot of inbound as well. And so we have essentially like an open submission process. And so artists can submit their work, tell us a bit about them. And then when we're making selections, we go through those. So I'd say it's pretty 50-50 at this point between partners I find and then our inbound submissions. And then we have done open calls for art, and we actually did a community-driven selection process where we did an open call for art. We had 500 artists submit their work, and then our community, our customers, our puzzlers, voted on which ones they wanted to do next. And so 6 winners were ultimately what we made for our next collection. So like fun activations like that, have been great. And then on the partnership side, also I'd say pretty, evenly split, but always, connecting with minded brands and networking with other founders. And a lot of that has led to opportunities as well.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I feel like it comes across that you really lean into customer feedback when you're kind of developing new product or developing new ideas. And something that I came across was really that community choice moment that you just spoke of. Are there any other examples of things like that where you really loop in the community for their feedback?
Yeah, we've had a few. Actually, last year we had 2 product launches, 3 even, that were very community driven. So first was our frame pairings, because of course we include puzzle glue with each one. So, the whole concept is these puzzles are pieces of art and you can display them afterwards. So we had been including the puzzle glue and then started getting a lot of, questions around framing, suggestions, and we made the puzzles match standard frame sizes so that it would be easier to source. But we ended up, asking like, would you want to just get it all in one? Would you want to bundle it? Pick your puzzle, pick your frame, easy gifting, easy bundling. And that was definitely very positive feedback. So we developed our Jiggy frame pairings. And then we also, started getting a lot of the pieces are a bit too small for my kid and I want to make it a whole family, affair and activity. And a lot of the benefits of puzzles really can be for early childhood development. And for adults, it's a lot of improved memory and sleep and just kind of overall brain health and stimulation, reduce stress, and even studies using them with PTSD patients and grief communities. And for kids, it's a lot of fine motor skills and like spatial recognition and shape and pattern matching. And even I talked to this pediatric OT occupational therapist, and she's saying even especially now with like social media and YouTube and everything, just like persistence, like with our attention spans, she uses puzzles with her kids to just teach like sticking with a task and delayed gratification. And, there aren't really in many ways to like cut corners with a puzzle. And so just that skill, that muscle of just persistence and then, getting delayed gratification at the end. So we ended up developing Jiggy Junior, which is our kids line of puzzles, same model where each of the designs is by a female artist who we do profit sharing with, but, bigger piece sizes, instead of glue, adhesive sheets, so a little more kids friendly. So we launched Jiggy Junior off of that. Lastly, we are kind of piloting a new model called Jiggy Studio, where the feedback and the conversation we were having with both our communities, our artist community, we just started getting so much interest and so many artists who wanted to turn their artwork into puzzles, but our model of releasing 6 at a time in these very curated collections just didn't allow us, to work with that many. And then on the customer side, we just started getting, could you do more photography, or could you do more watercolor or cartoon or anime or whatever it was? They just wanted more styles because we had a pretty specific kind of aesthetic for what we were curating for the collections. So on the artist side, there were 10 more artists wanting to work together. And then on the customer side, they were just looking for more options and kind of different styles, especially when they were thinking of it as art and what they want to hang. Just a few months ago in October, we started experimenting with what we call Jiggy Studio, which is where artists can come on, create a profile. We still review their art and approve it, but essentially it's more of a marketplace. So it's a platform where they come on, create their profile, upload their work, and then customers can shop. And, when an order is placed, we make the puzzle. It's, Jiggy quality in our packaging, everything you'd expect from us, but it's much more of a, not quite an Etsy or Teespring, but more of a platform marketplace.
Yeah. And it's print on demand, right? So no waste. Everyone can kind of get what they want, but without kind of having 1,000,000 SKUs on your end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
Next iteration. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one.
And how's that been going, like since it launched?
So far, so good. We have 40 artists live who've kind of gone through, just operationally. We've also just been testing how it works, onboarding them, making sure that they're set up, because a lot of them do a lot of their own marketing or have their own site currently where they sell prints and originals and want to plug into their site. So we've had a lot of kind of on our back end of plugging into their existing, points of sale, ironing out the whole print on demand. How quickly can we get those orders out? What's the turnaround time? But it's been great. We have 40 artists live, they each have 3+. So we have like 100, 150 designs. So before, where we were releasing 6 at a time, to be able to kind of overnight have 100 new pieces of art was really exciting for us to be able to offer that. And for customers, I mean, puzzles are addicting, right? And we really do want to lean into this kind of habit and ritual where it's not just a one-time, toy or game, but it's really this practice that you do to disconnect, to get away from the screens, to take some time for yourself and be more present and mindful. And so we see very strong repeat rates. And so to have that amount of new designs to offer just really helps. We have our puzzle club. They're puzzling with us every month. So always looking for new design. It's been great so far.
And is that a custom piece of tech that you've built on the side, or what's the back end of that?
No, scrappy small team. We've just continued, we run on Shopify, and we've just kind of packed together. There are some apps and plugins that we use for different functionality that Shopify didn't offer, but no, essentially it's just an addition to our site set up differently. It comes from the print on demand is a different production and fulfillment partner. The back end ops is different, but the customer facing experience is still, on our jiggypuzzles.com and kind of same shopping and checkout that they would expect.
Right. Got it. I'd love to switch gears a little bit and talk about the money piece of your story for the last couple of years. In the beginning, you were bootstrapped. I don't know where you are now. I know you've been on Shark Tank, so I feel like I'd love to sit in this space for a bit and understand how you were approaching working capital to this, and then if you've raised or what that approach to fundraising is.
Yeah, that's been a really interesting part of the journey for me. Just, going in kind of blind, didn't have, had friends in VC and stuff, but personally, not a ton of experience on running a business on the financial side. And so started out just fully self-funded and actually, 3 years in have remained that way. So there was one point in time, should I raise now? Is this the right time to bring on a partner? And did go on Shark Tank. And ultimately, I think because we are trying to do things differently, and I was really wanted to make sure that we could continue growing in an authentic way and make sure that, we do profit sharing with our artists. And I think a lot of investors would be looking for, ways to save on the bottom line that wasn't really aligned with what we were trying to do. And so ultimately decided to continue bootstrapping. So we run on cash flow. There are definitely pros and cons to that and huge challenges to that, especially when you have some seasonality in your business. So we have a couple other, some of the collabs and some of our more B2B. So, doing custom puzzles for corporate gifting. We'll have, big tech company, doing an employee conference, or everyone's working from home. They want to do an employee engagement activity, but everyone's at home. So we've made custom puzzles for partners like that. So that helps kind of even out some of the seasonality of the year. But anyone, I'll tell you, when you have, most of your revenue coming in Q4, to make those dollars last, for the rest of the year, for 3/4 of the year, can definitely be a challenge, and just have to be so mindful of what costs you're taking on. And so for our third episode check-in, I can keep you posted, because I am starting to explore options now of what that looks like. And I'm looking at all options, and that's what I think a lot of, people, if I could advise, to make sure what is out there, and to not just assume it has to be, VC equity raise, that there are a lot of kind of working capital, whether, especially now, so many have popped up of kind of these more creative, either going to a bank and getting a loan, or, much more some run off your purchase orders. So, if you're a wholesale business and you have to fund your purchase orders, but it's net 60, so you don't get paid for 60 days until after you deliver, there are options to fund that. So kind of inventory funding is one option. And then some, that run directly off, even Shopify offers capital now, and they just pull from your sales. So a little less, ultimately you still have to know what you're getting into, but a little less kind of risky if it's pulled out of sales. If you're confident you can cover that. So I'm in that process again of kind of what is the next stage of Jiggy's growth look like, and what are the resources we need to get there, because I think they're great things, and maintaining the ownership and control and being able to grow mindfully and in your own way when, as we do, you have such a purpose-driven brand. But there are limitations, and, to not have bigger budgets, to make bigger bets, on marketing, or on now, the world's opening, and events, and some of the really kind of
fun branded marketing.
Exactly. That, it's just hard to justify when every dollar pulled out affects the day-to-day running of the business. So we'll see what the right decision is this year, but still almost 3.5 years in, self-funding it.
Wow. I love that for you though. That's so cool. It really fits like the mission of what you're trying to build. I'm excited to see what comes next for you on that front in the part 3 of this episode.
Me too. I'll have to keep you posted.
What's shifting the needle for you now in terms of marketing? 2023, it's a very different landscape to 2020, 2021, even last year, really. So I'm wondering, are you, what's working in terms of, is it TikTok? Is it PR? Is it ambassador programs? Is it Amazon? Is it something else? What's kind of your focus at the moment?
Yeah, we just launched on Amazon. So we were selected for Oprah's favorite things list.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I love that for you.
Yeah, thank you. It was very cool. It was a big moment for us. Always such a kind of honor to be included. No, unfortunately not. She doesn't. I think when she still had the show, I think you've also made her go on the show. But now she's, the magazine still has an incredible audience around it. Their preference is that you're also live on Amazon. So we kind of spun up quickly to go live on Amazon to participate in the list. And so now that we're there, we're like, all right, let's see what we can do with this channel. So still fresh, but starting to grow on Amazon this year. Yeah, ours, it still is really heavy on word of mouth, both on customers. So that's, how do you incentivize your customers with ambassadors, or kind of a loyalty program? We have a loyalty program where you can accumulate points for sharing on social media and leaving reviews. Programs like that, loyalty and ambassadors, I think can still be really powerful. Ads, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, they're really, at least for us, very hit or miss. So can be powerful, can also be very unpredictable. We're experimenting with the creative, but it's kind of a necessary evil, to continue to just have a presence there, but definitely not something we're putting, all our eggs in the Facebook ad bucket. PR, I would say definitely, if you have a product, if there are solid hooks or if it's prime for gifting, then, getting on, hiring an agency or even a freelancer to just be pitching commerce editors, to be getting on, gift guides, product lists, roundups, all of these very commerce driven. PR can be powerful, and also kind of be, it can convert on its own. And then kind of the other halo effect of it is adding a lot of link backs for your brand for SEO purposes. And so that can be helpful too, to just start to, rise in the rankings and be more discoverable in search. So we're still continuing with that. Our artists as well, since they are really the partners in this, and they get a percentage of sales, and so are incentivized to drive their own sales. We do, have kind of this built-in marketing force of the artists themselves, who are doing, have their own audiences and email lists and followers. And I would say email, it seems just like table stakes, but if you can be, creative and constantly innovating and making sure you have strong flows and a welcome and, browse abandon, cart abandon, and all of make sure you're not leaving anything on the table, and that you're really covering bases with email as well.
Right. Absolutely. Just to circle back to the Oprah thing, how do you get on the radar of being on Oprah's favorite things list?
It started 2 years ago. I went to my first and only actually trade show. So if you're a very wholesale heavy business, then certainly trade shows can be powerful. I did one, we've really focused, especially during COVID, on the direct to consumer side of things. But I was at a trade show, with a booth displaying Jiggy, and an editor from her magazine came up and had the chance to meet him and show, touch and feel the product and explain what we were all about. So originally got on the radar a couple of years ago. They ended up kind of changing the focus of that list in that year. And so, would just once a quarter, every 3 months, follow up. And then ultimately I kind of tag teamed. I would follow up with him. My PR team would track down any other back channel they could find. And then this year we were put up for it again. It was actually funny. Okay, you made it through this round. Okay, you made it through this round. And the final round was the photo shoot. And so it's not guaranteed. They do the full photo shoot and then they do the layout and make final selections. So it wasn't guaranteed, but like you're really close at that point. And so I got the email on like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. that, okay, we need your product. And the photo shoot is this Thursday, like in 48 hours in Portland, Oregon, across the country from where I was sitting in New York. And we need, 4 of the puzzles in their packaging. And then we need a completed one framed to show how it looks, completed and framed. And I had none of that with me in New York. So, okay, our fulfillment center can send the ones in the packaging, they can just send the samples, but how am I going to, I can't, even if I overnight it to me, can I speed puzzle this in 24 hours, complete it, frame it, and ship it back overnight? Like, is that possible? So I ended up, taking to our community, which was incredible, but I posted on Instagram, like, we have an insane opportunity. Has any customer who bought this puzzle and kept it and framed it, like, DM me? And we had multiple customers who had it framed on their wall and pulled it down off their wall and bubble wrapped it up and sent it to Portland, Oregon for me. So that was how we ended up pulling it off. Yeah.
That is so cool. That means that their puzzle is on Oprah's favorite list of things, and their puzzle is like the trophy. Oh my God, that's so cool. I love that so much. Power of community. Total power of community. That is so cool. Before we jump into the 6 quick questions, my last question for you is, what is just your key piece of advice for female founders in 2023 who want to grow their business?
We've talked about community a lot. I would definitely kind of sit down and think about what that means to you and think about it a bit more kind of open-endedly or open-mindedly of what the first thing everyone thinks of is their customers. Okay, so you have your customer community, but what does that really mean and what does that look like? Are you engaging with them in all the ways you can, activating them? And then I think, what are the other communities for us? Our artists, our brand partners, and these collaborations, and where is there opportunity to have that work for you a bit more? So I think, again, on kind of the long term, if you're not just quick win, sell a product, but really want to go through the exercise of brand building and really creating something with lasting power, then understanding, what differentiates you and who your community is, definitely be talking to them, surveying, understanding your avid, your 1%, kind of hyper engaged people are and what they're attracted to your brand about, really making sure that you're making the most of that and kind of not leaving opportunity on the table to have more of a community than just customers.
I love that. That's a great reminder for everyone, myself included. Okay, we are up to the 6 quick questions part of the episode. Some of them we might have already covered, but we asked them all the same and it goes into part 2 of the episode. So question number 1 is, what's your why? Why do you wake up every day and create Jiggy?
I love finding ways to kind of surprise people. And I think especially for something as simple as a puzzle, where that's probably the first, thing that they're like, oh yeah, okay, a puzzle, but to bring my unique spin on it and purpose with it, and to have people look at them differently and kind of rediscover that just joy of, the simple things. I think there's so many over the top and hyper stimulated activities that we turn to these days, but to kind of simplify your life and just kind of have quiet down time, mindful time with a product the other big why is to support artists. And my mom founded an arts nonprofit when I was a kid, so that's where it comes from. But to be able to help artists actually monetize their work and make a living off their work, instead of just, sharing it. I think artists share their work for free a lot, and to actually have them help get paid and make a living off their work is really important to me.
I love that. Question number 2 is, what's been your favorite marketing moment so far?
I think the originals that we did, these hand-painted ones, it just blew my mind what these artists were able to create on a blank white puzzle. So just the creativity that they kind of infused into it, and then to see people really treating this puzzle as artwork was just very, very cool to me.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Question number 3 is, what's your go-to business resource at the moment if you are thinking about a podcast that you listen to, or a newsletter that you're subscribing to religiously, reading every week, or a book that you're reading at the moment?
Because the retail industry is new to me, so, my experience with the Skim, I had been in kind of a startup world, but not really the consumer brand and retail world. So I have a few newsletters, like Lean Lux and the Morning Brew did Retail Brew. So those are 2 that I read that kind of keep me in the know about what's happening with e-commerce and retail, that I find really helpful.
Love both of those. Question number 4 is, how do you win the day? What are your AM or PM rituals that keep you feeling happy and successful and motivated?
Yeah, I'm pretty rigid about these, I think for a good reason, because I definitely, I feel it immediately. It really is the little things and the simple things. And a couple days without my morning routine, I really feel the impact. So first thing, movement and sun first thing in the morning. So before, other than my alarm, before getting outside, no phones, and go for a walk with my husband. We're in Miami at the moment, so it's very easy to get our sun fill, but walk in the sun, coffee, and then we'll kind of ease our brains into the day with Wordle and a crossword. And then I usually make breakfast, and I was not previously a breakfast person. That was also a game changer for me. So make breakfast and then get to work. And then in the evenings, I do the last thing in the day is I have a 5-year journal where it's every day and it laps itself. So each day has 5 sections on the page. And so you write that days, and then, I'm on year 3 now. So I see that same day, the 2 years prior. And it's just a really nice kind of way, to see.
What's it called?
I think it's called A Line a Day, 5-year journal.
A line a day. That's cool. I want to check that out.
Yeah. So I see, everything, just kind of a nice check-in of how far I've come and what I was, worried about or focused on then, and just a little perspective to end the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I'm going to get me one of those. Question number 5. This is a good one. What has been your worst money mistake, and how much did it cost you?
It was just a silly one of just not following best practices, which was we have international, manufacturing partners. And so on an international wire, you're supposed to just best practice, verify all the info. If you can get on the phone and talk to someone to just confirm the information. I did not do any of that. And I wired, it was $10,000. And then I never heard from, I was like, okay, what's the production? When will this be ready? They didn't reply. So I had her WhatsApp. And so I WhatsApped her and I was like, hey, are you getting my emails? She was like, I haven't heard from you in 3 weeks. And it turns out the whole company's email was hacked. And it was a Bangkok hacker who I had accidentally wired the money to. And she thought I just ghosted her.
Oh my God.
So yeah, definitely verifying financial information and, try to get 2 methods of I should have, WhatsApped or phoned before. So don't send large amounts of money purely by email communication, I would say. And then I think, another one was, I think just, we tried some experimental, a showroom or a partner that would, display our product amongst a bunch of others. And I think just not being clear about expectations can sometimes bite you of just, of course, what is foot traffic, but how many are actually converting? And even if they're not converting, can we display, QR code or capture their email, or what other value can we get from this? If you don't sell the product, then who's paying for the shipping to get back to the warehouse, and have some guarantees on the amount that sells? And if not, can we participate in one in the future? So I think just really being clear, setting clear expectations with any partner that, you're taking a bet on.
And kind of figuring out all scenarios, where all of those scenarios leads. If this happens, what does this mean? Yeah, 100%. Oh, that's a really good one. Last question number 6. What is just a crazy story, good or bad, that you can share from building Jiggy?
I mean, the Thai hackers is bad crazy.
Yeah, that was a really crazy one.
The craziest moments are when I either am there's no feeling like seeing your product in the wild with a stranger. When I still get texts, my friend in LA went to some house party, dinner party, and there's a Jiggy sitting on the table or something, when it's just this has gotten so much bigger than me, and they didn't just buy it because they're trying to be nice and support me, or seeing my product in the wild. We've done retail now in Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom, and so walking into a Bloomingdale's in Soho in New York and seeing a Jiggy on the shelf are still kind of the crazy moments, the pinch myself moments.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Kaylin, this was so cool. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. I can't wait to do part 3.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.